Hey guys, it's your boy, Peter Liu, Real Wheel Deal. You know, there's a rumor going around that, some Nissan SR20, they pull a premium before race wars.
Couple Nissan SR20 motors will pull a premium 1 week before race wars, huh?
But you know what pulls a premium every single day of the week? VOLK Racing's TE37. And today we're gonna go over the history of it and a little bit of manufacturing to why the TE37 is such an iconic wheel, okay? So it's really hard to say where we even start because the wheel's been around for such a long time. So I think we're gonna go way back. So I'm talking about like caveman days. So people would say one of the most important inventions ever made by man, probably the wheel. It's iconic wheel, TE37. So just with those facts laid out, that means that TE37 was one of the most important inventions ever made in humankind. That's just facts, okay? I don't even know why they don't teach us that at school. What makes the TE37 such a winning wheel and why it's so well known in today's standards? There's three things we gotta do. First, we're gonna talk about is design. Second is manufacturing, and third is materials. The design of the TE37 is iconic because it's got that 6-spoke design. It has even stress distribution across all the spokes, especially when the wheel's in rotation. The very top is pulling down, the very bottom holding it up. So that wheel, when it's spinning, is perfectly symmetric. The triangles is 60 degrees, and that also helps a lot with the best dissipation of stress in the whole wheel when it's running. It's really hard to find a shape or a pattern that's going to be much better at doing that job than the 6-spoke TE. That's the best balance between strength and weight savings with the cutouts. Now, what's the best engineering principles? It's keeping things simple, keeping things super strong, and adding lightness. Those are like the basic properties of anything that makes something really at an engineering grade some of the best. So the TE37 kind of checks off all those boxes. The next fundamental important part of a wheel is the materials that are being used. You might have seen a lot of other manufacturers, they advertise their wheel as an aluminum wheel. A lot of those wheels, they're not even 80% aluminum. They also have a lot of fillers, a lot of different kinds of metals in there that could do stress, cracking. I'm not even talking about, forged or not forged. It's just aluminum wheel, you're not quite sure. The TE37 uses a very special blend of metals, and it's a 6061 aircraft grade aluminum. So that's some of the best aluminum you can use, but they have a little bit of a special stuff that they add into it to mix that formula. So there's a little bit of silica being added in. Silica is to help with the crystalline structure to be a little bit finer in the metal. The second thing to add is magnesium. That's added in there is to ensure a little bit more toughness. When they forge that wheel, that material allows it to have up to 18% more tensile strength than a wheel that's 6061 aluminum without those additives. And if you think about it, 6061 aluminum compared to their special blend is that much stronger. How about a wheel that isn't even using 6061 aluminum? Another thing that's really important about the TE37's materials, the 6061 aluminum blend they use also helps a lot with heat dissipation. Your wheel plays an important role in the performance of your vehicle on a track because it also acts as a giant heat sink for your brake rotor. So if you're hitting a lot of corners, you're on a circuit for a long period of time, all that heat from the rotor is going to be traveling right up to the wheel. The wheel's in direct contact with the air, it's spinning. It's going to be making sure that it's dissipating the heat properly and quickly. Also, if you get heat soak in the rotor and it goes into the wheel, and your tires are also heating up, that whole combination just becomes a giant heat soaking measure, and that could affect your tire grip, affect many things. So how well that wheel dissipates heat is really important and really critical. The third thing that's really important, manufacturing method. So VOLK TE37, everyone knows it's forged, but the forging for that is very unique. I really don't like the word that's being thrown around lately. A lot of manufacturers, a lot of the market, they're throwing the word forged around. They're saying forged line, they have a forged line of wheels, or even some companies are just popping up, they're putting forged directly in their name. But forging is not all created equal. If I take a samurai sword and I hit that samurai sword once, I can put it on a shelf, I can label it forged. Or I can take a piece of steel, I can fold that 10,000 times, hammer it 10,000 times, put on a shelf, also forged. Fundamental huge differences between those two wheels or those two swords, even if it says forged. So one of the most common forge methods that are being used, there's a forged blank and they put it through a press. I don't know how much the pressure is for it, but the strength they put it through, it gives you like a little blank of a shape of a wheel, and then immediately after, they just put it through a CNC or they put it through a mill and they just machine the shape of the wheel. Yeah, that wheel is forged blank, so it's going to be having better properties than a cast wheel, but there's definitely a way to get it even stronger. VOLK TE37, since day one when it was introduced, they use a special forging, mold form forging or die forging, along with the metal that we talked about, 6061 aluminum. They take that blank and they put it through a die. That first die they put it through is already shaped quite a bit like the TE37, and then they have a second die where they put it through and it starts getting closer to shape, and it's a third die. So it's a 3-step forging process, and as each step goes through further out, the shape of the TE37 looks more more and more closer to final wheel. When you get to the end of that final wheel, the shape of the TE37 is so evident in there. They just have to use machining to just clean it up a little bit here and there. Of course, they got to drill the bolt pattern. Of course, they have to drill the valve stem hole, but that wheel is mostly complete. Metal inherently has a grain, and then when you push it through the forge, they have to do a 3-step die process. They want to do it at ease and through stages so that metal can flow into the place that it needs to flow, and it's very, very precisely controlled. Another thing is they like to use something called cold forging. So that means the metal never actually gets molten. The metal is actually still hard when they're forging. It's just heated up, and with it being not molten, it takes a lot of strength and pressure to get that metal to flow. The last thing that's really important about the mold form forging method, because the shape of the spokes, the inside center hub, as we're forging it, all the crystalline structure in the metal, even on the surface, all following that grain. So that means the strength of the wheel is comprehensive across all the surfaces, all the spokes, pretty much the entire area of the wheel has the grain structure that's you get out of forging. After we do that forging process, there's many other things that kind of set the wheel apart. They use really special finishes. They always make sure that the wheel is really treated. Also, another thing about aluminum is also like they treat it a certain way because aluminum actually gets stronger as it's settling. So as it's curing there, they're actually doing more process to make sure that aluminum wheel is getting stronger. So when you step through those 3 processes, using the really good design philosophies and language to make the wheel, they really drill down, make sure the materials is some of the best they can produce. And last thing is using the best method available. You compound those 3 up. That's why that wheel becomes so strong, so iconic, and really at a level that's really hard for other manufacturers to reach, because that takes many years of iteration, many years of design, just to make sure that it performs at the max spec that it can perform at. So now that we finished talking about manufacturing and how TE comes to be, we're talking about the history, because the history is also just as important as manufacturing. Because if you have a really great product, but if people don't know the story, they don't believe in it, it's gonna go nowhere. So RACE was established in 1973. They've been doing wheels for quite a while at this point. They decided to, enter racing because they're a racing wheel company, so they didn't have to go with racing. In 1991, in Le Mans 24 hours, Mazda wins Le Mans with their Mazda 787V, and is running on center-locked forged VOLK wheels. You didn't know RACE had actually tried 13 times previously with the companies to win that race. So when they actually won it, that was a big deal. Also, up until recent time periods, that was the only Japanese car to ever win Le Mans. That was long-standing for at least over, I think, 20 years. So on the success of that 1991 win, VOLK decides, to go to do more racing. Some of the touring car championship, British touring car championships, Japanese touring car championships, 1994, 1995, VOLK Racing and RACE is starting to appear on quite a few of those cars. And when you look at the history, year by year, more and more cars are using a wheel. And there's a picture of a wheel here. It's kind of crazy, it's kind of like a bright orange, bright green wheel. Fortezza Touring Evolution wheel, they call it. And that's where I kind of starting to see, we got that 6-spoke design. It's a forged wheel, but this one's center locked. When I think of the first TE, I think it kind of starts originating at this point. So in 1995, RACE released their catalog, and you'll notice that in there's a wheel that really resembles that Fortest wheel that was seen in those touring car championships. And it's available in a bolt pattern for street vehicles. So now they're trying to see like, oh, this wheel's on a racing car. Well, you can also have it on your car. And that's when it really starts to take shape, that there's a 6-spoke wheel that is available for street cars. I think it starts getting a little bit more famous there. But then what happens in 1997 is that's when we really get a change up of the story of the TE37 and its name. So 1997, the Fortest, which was offered in black and red, silver and blue, it's still in there, but it appears as a 19-inch now in 1997. In 1997, 2 other new wheels appear in a catalog. One is the TE16, is what people are calling it, but here you see it's labeled TE37. So if you know your wheels pretty well, you'll know that, yeah, there's the original TE37 that's 5-spoke. This is the one, and it was TE37, but we call it TE16, I think. A lot of wheel guys call it that because it's available only in a 16-inch. But also that same year, in the catalog, in the shadows, something's creeping up. It's this guy right here, the 15-inch TE37 in the shape that we know it as today. Debuts in this catalog as a 15-inch by 6-inch wide, measured at 3.7 kilograms, and that's exactly where the name comes from. So the last couple of wheels that we just discussed, those really started in those touring car championships. So the TE, they call this wheel the Touring Evolution, and that 37 is because that wheel, 15 by 6, is 3.7 kilograms, which was the weight they aimed to get that that wheel which was the lightest possible. It was available in 2 colors. I have one of them here. This is what I really want to show you guys. This is the classic VOLK Racing TE37 in white. And white was chosen because in the 90s, white was a super hot color for racing cars for wheels. So white was there, but it used a really thin paint. The second color that we mostly know TE37 for is, of course, their bronze. So I have a bronze one right up here. This bronze, you can tell this one's seen like quite a bit of action. This one's one that's like off of S2000. It's seen a lot of work. But the bronze is iconic for TE37. One, because it's not painted or powder coated. It's actually anodized. So the color they call it now is bronze almite. But having an anodized wheel is really cool because that was the lightest finish that you could possibly put on a wheel at that time. The bronze isn't just like an iconic color, but there's also like a meaning behind it. You know, there's an important design principle behind it. That lightness was key, and that's where that bronze really emerged from. So this is actually like one of my earliest wheels. I want to talk to you guys about it. This wheel was made in 2002, so we've had it mint at the shop. This one is 18x7, 4x100, so you can see like that's not going to run on anything in modern day, but this was just something we had at the shop, and I definitely wanted in this video. And this is the shape that you think of when you think of an old school T, but this one's a little bit larger. So I'm going to grab another one and I'm going to show you guys this. So this one is actually a 16x7 that I have at the shop. This one's forged in pretty early too. This one's forged in 2009, and I want to show you guys this because when I think that T originally came out, the shape and the look of it was really close to this one. Holding in my hands, you kind of get a scale of what that wheel really looked like and the kind of face design it had, but this one is in a really nice silver color, and this is the mint one we've had in the shop, but this one's forged much later, 2009, so that's pretty much more than 10 years after the original T came out, but design-wise exactly the same as that OG one. So T was first forged, in aluminum for consumer vehicles, but obviously they were using the mag design. So 1997, 98, JGTC, running a lot of Supras, NSX, cars like that, and they're running TE37 on there. Albeit it's a center lock, but they're running a magnesium version of the wheel. 1998, the magnesium version of the TE comes out. It comes in a color that's only available in blue. They call it magnesium blue. So that's what I have in behind here. They use that color for other Volks now, but they call it magnesium blue. The magnesium wheel from Volk was only available in that blue, and that wheel was super light. It was quite a bit more expensive than aluminum versions. I heard like maybe anywhere from 50 to 60% more than its aluminum counterpart. That wheel was produced for a long time, almost 10 years. I think it was discontinued actually in 2008 or 2009. So if you can see a set of those are very rare. I'm gonna throw a picture up right here. The TE became really popular because in the Super Taikyu series, in Super GT, people are seeing like, man, I can actually get a wheel that's actually used in some of these racing series on my vehicle. Volk kind of capitalizes on this, and they try and get some other lines of that wheel going. TE37 Gravel actually comes out because they're already encompassing the circuit racing, so it's just natural for them to start going after a rally and off-road driving. So the TE37 Gravel was born in 1999, and actually up till today, the TE37 Gravel is still available in the catalog and has mostly remained unchanged from 1999 till now. So that wheel is one of the oldest wheels in the Volk catalog. So we're going racing, we're going off-roading. 2001, they decide to increase another variant. This is the first time it goes TE37 large PCD. So now there's like 6-bolt pattern, off-road vehicles. That wheel has been around almost 20 years now. Many different variants of that as well, but I just want to let you guys know that was what had come out, and that was originally available also in white. The next year, 2002, they introduced another version. It's called the TE37X. So that's another off-road version of the TE, but they wanted more like a flat face style look. So that one I'm gonna throw it up in here, and that evolved quite a bit till today. You guys might see my video there. TE37XT. It's also evolved too, and that's a current modern version of that wheel. So the TE is available in 15, 16, 17, 18. At this time, cars are starting to run bigger wheels, so they definitely need to come up with a bigger one. So 2003 is the year where they made the jump, and they did the 19-inch for 2 different vehicles. First one they did was TE37 went to start doing fitments for Porsche. They really want to attack that Porsche market. They had another 19-inch that came out. 350Z had come out in 2002. The 19 inches was a size that people were really running on them, and that's the first time where the TE37 actually started getting a dish. Also, it was a reverse mounted wheel, so that's where the dish is kind of in front, so it's a reverse style wheel. That's the first time they've got that lip on there and really changed the face of the Volk. So 2004, they started attacking the little guys. The TE37 Cup comes out. So I don't know if you've seen this one before, but they're available on the used market pretty often, and it's kind of like a small version, 15, 16 inch. It kind of has like a nice little dish on it, but it's kind of got this little round thing for like kind of cute little like K-style cars. They're just trying to go all the way from the top down, every size, every applicable vehicle that you can do. 2006, the TE37, it grows up again. It grows up a little bit bigger. It goes up to a 20 inch, and that wheel, they call it the 4-mech wheel. So I have the catalog here, 2007, 2008, and if you open it up, That's their version of the 10-inch wheel. So I'll throw a picture up there, but basically it's also got the lip and it also has VOLK Racing embossed in the spoke. And that's the first time our TE37 goes up to a 20-inch. So things are going good for a while. There's a little variants coming out. 2010 is a big year for TE37. They introduced two totally, I think, game-changing wheels. The first wheel that's introduced is the TE37 SL, and the SL stands for Super Lap. VOLK decided to kind of iterate the TE37 to a newer, lighter iteration. So a couple of things about the SL that you might not know. First is they tried to shave off 400 grams off the 18 by 10.5 wide wheel. So that was the benchmark they used, 400 grams off that wheel. How to achieve this was a little bit of additional cutting. So some of them, they have a little bit of cutting behind the spoke. Not all of them do. Another thing that they did was they cut out the middle and the hub area a lot more. So the SL, it can't fit center caps. They did sell adapter rings later for it, but the intention of the SL was to not run center caps. And another thing was a new paint finish. So the paint finish that they had was pressed graphite, and it was a really extremely thin paint finish to try and change the color and look a bit, but also to save weight. And another thing about the SL, which I think was game changing, that you guys probably seen and recognize now, is that's when they introduced the spoke sticker. So I don't have it on here, but actually they do have a spoke sticker here that's normally in bright red. I have the mag blue version, but the sticker is still in the box. But I have a bright sticker there on the spoke, and that's like iconic. And I feel like the SL since 2010 till now, it has actually been just as popular as the original TE37 color. It's really unique, really good design that they chose. That's when the SL had come out. They actually still use the same die and forging blocks that they used to make the TE37 OG. Base and the designs of it are exactly the same. It's just where they cut that they saved the weight. The second new wheel they introduced in 2010 was this guy, the TE37V. It stood for vintage, and I think that was like one of the areas, VOLK being like a newer wheel company, and they were doing cars that were, were after like 1996, let's say. The vintage market really started to pick up. People were appreciating older Japanese vehicles a lot more. Lots of people were having those builds, and they wanted to enter that market. They designed this brand new wheel, TE37V, with bolt patterns, offsets, and a design language that I think really is period correct, that really suited the vehicles of that time. So now, since it's been out for 10 years, definitely like a proven choice. I've seen them on everything, 240Z, GTRs, about like the old ones, like the 2000 ones, A86 a lot. Anything with that older bolt pattern, this wheel was made for. And every year they release this wheel again as a special edition, new colors, new styles. 5 years later, in 2015, the TE37V went through another iteration where they combined the TE37V with the properties of the TE37 SL that was really well received, and they made a lightweight version of the TE37V, the TE37V SL. That debuted in 2015 where they used the same color as the SL. It also had the iconic spoke sticker. That was limited only for 1 year. It was discontinued right after, and it didn't return until last year when they did a TE37V SL 1920 edition, and that was just a different colorway of that original wheel. Another thing about the TE37V that went through another iteration was because it was such a well-received wheel. A lot of people were like, man, I really want that wheel for my modern build. And the TE37V Mark II was introduced in 2015 as an 18-inch model, and that's what the Mark II signifies, that it's an 18-inch model. It started out as a limited edition model, but it's still been running and still in production. So I've been seeing it on quite a few modern builds as well, and because of the style of the wheel and how good the lip is, I've been seeing it on a lot of wide bodies, so it's a very well-received wheel. I'm pretty sure it's going to keep going. And this year they have 2021 edition that came out for it. So TE37 SL is kind of the de facto face of the brand. The TE37 OG is being pressed still, but it's going in and out of production. They do put it back in. So one of the examples that I've had is when the FK8 came out, they repressed the TE37 OG again because the market demanded it, and because there was enough reception that they thought that was an important wheel to put out at the time. So the OG is still being done here and there, but the SL is the one that they're going to keep doing over and over. And they're really trying to, push the SL because it's a lighter and newer iteration. Lots of special editions have come out for the TE during 2010 till now, including the SL. You might have seen they've done the Black Edition, one of my personal favorites. There's a Black Edition 2 and 3. They've also been able to do like the Tokyo Time Attack. So TE37 RT was introduced in 2013, just 3 years after the SL, and the RT stood for Rigid Tune. Take the SL and push it even further. So if you remember, I said the SL was made out of the original dies of the OG, unchanged. Well, the RT was the next push, and that was called the Rigid Tune, and they were trying to get it 6% more rigid without adding any extra weight to the existing SL. And they were able to accomplish that, and that wheel is in like this iconic burning red, and later did a black edition of it. At this point, they're really starting to push that TE37 OG base and design as far as they could. The other sizes, there's a big one that drops. In 2014, VOLK drops the big one for TE37. Their big boy, their 20-inch. The GTR is like an insane machine. That like Godzilla is just way too powerful. So they redesigned the TE37 into the TE37 Ultra. And that Ultra is a brand new wheel made only in 20-inch at that time. It's gone down to a 19 now, which is also available. But they designed that just for the GTR, just to handle its strength, its weight, its design just for that vehicle. Of course, they've made the application available to a lot of other vehicles, but when they went to the drawing board, that was the car they're doing it for. And that wheel also went through its own, editions, Track Edition, Premium Edition, Track Edition 2. That wheel, I would say, the next kind of evolution of VOLK's TE37, because that design language they used throughout the rest of their line later. So now that we're on the heels of the TE37 Ultra, in 2016, the 20th anniversary of TE37, the TE37 has done its job. It's lasted 20 years as the most iconic, strongest, most well-known tuner wheel ever made. Time for TE37 to advance to the modern world. They introduced in 2016 the TE37 Sega, and I have one right here, and it's in their new bronze color that they have, this new racing bronze that VOLK has developed. The Sega is an entirely new mold of wheel. They have a totally new die. They're not using any old dies. It's designed from the ground up. Why this had to happen was in our modern day, vehicles are much heavier. They're putting out way more power. There's a lot more safety equipment in them, so that's adding extra weight. And now with the EVs, they're even getting heavier. So TE37 Sega in 2016 was made to kind of put TE back on the top, make it surpass any standard and be the strongest ever. And I think they really got it done. So you look between the two, of course from far away, you're like, yeah, it's just your TE. But when I have these wheels side by side, it really looks like nothing else. They took the design language from the Ultra. They have the engraved metal here. They have the forged. They have all the design features there. But you also see how the spokes kind of meet the rim edge. And this lip here, it's got a double step lip, whereas the old T, it kind of just had this flat little anodized step lip there. So TE37 Sega was VOLK's goal to get TE37 into our modern standard. And now I'm making this video. It's 2021. It's only been 5 years since the Sega's been out. They do it again. This year they introduced the TE37 Sega S Plus. And the S Plus, they added 100 to 150 grams around per wheel, but it increased the strength even further on this brand new mold. And that, I think, is going to be design that's going to be carrying forward for our modern TE37. So we've gone through the design, the manufacturing, and the history of the TE37. So I hope for you, this was like the ultimate TE37 video. I hope like this video actually outlives me, and if somebody one day in the future, they're trying to look and they're like, man, where did TE37 start from? That they come across this video, get the information they needed. With having such a long lineage and long history of TE37, there's a lot of special editions, a lot of side models in the lineup that have been released over the years that I didn't cover in here. Trying to keep the video short, I just try to give you guys a high level of the TE37s that really were very popular, that they were well known. Kind of, if you have an obscure one, you thought there's one that maybe is really important, I'd like you guys to comment below. Tell me like, hey Peter, you missed this TE. I'd also like to see you guys comment below. Let me know what TEs are on your car, or what kind of TEs you like, and of all the iterations, which one was your favorite, and what you guys think of the new model. So thanks for watching. Hopefully it wasn't too long, but I feel like for such an iconic wheel, and for the impact that it's made to our market, to our industry, for each person that's into tuning vehicles, it deserved to have a longer video. So hit subscribe, comment below, let me know what you think. If it goes really good or I missed too much information, maybe we'll make a follow-up video. Maybe in 10 years, I'll do another video of those years of edition, because the TE37, it's gonna live forever. It's gonna outlive me, it's probably gonna outlive you. Hopefully that style and that pattern carries on forever. Thanks.